Hey guys, welcome to a recap of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, episode 6, Rap Sheets and Old Beefs. Guys, I don't know what to tell you. I can already see the setup for the reunion already. We're gonna have Marlo sitting right next to Andy, and then we're gonna have Candy because I feel like this season is gonna be centered around the drama between Candy and Marlo and their differences. Because we open up with this episode getting a flashback from the beginning, the very moment that we saw Marlo coming in on The Real Housewives of Atlanta as a friend of, to her having issues with Candy, then having, great relationships. It's like seeing something go rocky, then friendly. It's just a very toxic situation. And I think this was quite important to get a flashback on to see where these girls were really at because I truly did forget how they were once like enemies, but then they were friends. I just don't get why they're in this cycle with each other where they don't like each other, then they like each other, then they don't like each other, and then they like each other. It seems like a very toxic situation. So we get to see an unseen footage of August 13, 2020. So this was, of course, during the height of COVID, and we see Marlo, she shares news to Candy that her nephew had died due to gun violence and that her nephew worked at Candy's restaurant. And, this is important because then we see following the next day that Marlo, she goes over to Candy's home and she seems like she's in positive spirits, but, everyone managed grief differently. And, Marlo did open up and say about the situation with her nephew passing on due to gun violence. And we have Candy actually comforting Marlo in that scene. So we do see Candy acknowledging the situation and, even in the confessional mentioning that she also can understand Marlo's shoes in the sense that cousin, like people in your family are so close they feel like they're your own kids, that this is such a grieving process. And that it was interesting noted by Candy that Candy said that, everyone want to say all the bad things about Marlo, but Marlo is actually a kind-hearted person. But it seems as though it switches given the scenario or the time of day they're on. It's just not consistent, and I think this friendship needs to be over with. It's not a good friendship. So, as we have seen in that moment, the ladies, the two were on good terms. But after 2020, you know, Candy, she did send money over to Marlo for the boys for their birthdays and special occasions. So they were still good until after that we see that they were at each other's necks. So it seems like a very toxic situation, as I said again, because it's like a high, a low, a high, a low, a high, a low. It seems that Marlo really, really wants a friendship with Candy. And Candy, she does offer what she can, but it seems like as though is not good enough for Marlo. And I don't know what will, but we kind of see later in the episode an idea where Marlo is coming from. And I do not like how these girls are making it be about sides and whose team you're on, because definitely Drew and Kenya is not helping the situation at all. It seems like it's a game of telephone, and also about, oh, whose side are you on, and not really helping the situation to diffuse it, because I feel like this could have been resolved much more quicker if these two, Candy and Marlo, just talked. But because information is passing through Drew, because information is passing through Kenya and all the ladies, it seems like it's becoming very messy. And at this point, it only seems like it's gonna be resolved if we get to the couch of Andy and these two ladies talk about the situation. But this episode, I would have to say it was not my favorite episode. I do feel like the Real Housewives of Atlanta have been underperforming in terms of content for their season. I just feel like this issue could have been addressed a long time ago. It did happen in 2020. She was feeling a kind of way in 2021. We're now in 2023, and this is now being platformed into a bigger issue than it has to be. And I feel like we're seeing the worst side of all the people involved, okay? So I do think that this is not a good season for our girls, and I feel like, the production crew have to take an L with this one. This was, I would have told them stop talking about this or settle this or let's move on to something else. But anywho, we do get into the episode with Marlo talking to her two managers slash friends. So we learn that these two people are actually Marlo's tribe. I feel like it's like a copy of Candy Coded Click, but Candy's not the only one who has a team of people that work with her. Everyone is entitled to have a team of people. So I saw some shade about that because people were like, who are these people? We never seen them before. But this is probably the first time they appear on camera. I would assume that all these ladies, they have a team of people who assist to them with their day to day. So what they're helping with Marlo, or what's the focus? I thought it was a little bit silly, but I would be interested in seeing something like that. I would be interested to see anything else but what's going on right now. So the two managers are proposing that Marlo starts dating, and they actually have sent out an ad to get candidates of men who want to date Marlo. So this would be actually quite interesting, for Marlo, and I was looking forward to hearing about that. But the conversation takes a turn and focus on Courtney's upcoming event, which all the ladies are invited and included, and which means that Marla's gonna have to interact with Drew and Candy, who she has an issue with. So of course the conversation takes a turn, and it becomes a focus where Marlo wants, she kind of wants to settle this issue. I feel like she can't move on without addressing this issue. Yes, she acknowledged that, the ladies called it a truce, but she still has a little bit of an issue with June and a little bit of an issue with Candy. Marlo, she feels like no one is holding Candy accountable. She feels that, people are very direct to say what Marlo has done in her past, and and some rumors that she has been involved with. But when it comes to Candy, she feels like the ladies kind of go a way around it and not really say directly what it is. So she has an issue with that. And I think that, until she addressed that issue, she's not going to let that go, because obviously it's still bothering her till this day. Like, if this situation happened in 2020, it's still bothering her. And, she does mention why it still bothers her, because of how Drew was talking about it, kind of how she feels like it's making light of the situation, not taking it as serious as it should. We're still going to be dealing with this situation. So, yep, she's going to have to address Candy about this. We're going to see what's the result of that. But, guys, I do not like this one bit. So we're over at Sanya's. And now, guys, when we get a scene with Sanya, I'm just so underwhelmed. I feel like it's a whole bunch of nothing much is going on. I feel like we kind of have a storyline with her, dealing with her family who are staying over, but they kind of overstayed their welcome. I just feel like it's a scene of nothing. I did enjoy the fight about like patties. I thought that was cute humor, and I wished, we get something a little bit more from Sanya. I feel like it's kind of like a missed opportunity. So, Sanya, she receives news that Mommy Nation is gonna be on Belk.com, and she is so proud of this news. She shares with her family, and she kind of throws some shade a little bit to her sister, saying that, wow, she wish she has a family that she could depend on to get things done, which is shade to the sister. And, the sister sees the situation for what it is. She has it made up in her mind that, they're no longer wanted, and she feels that her sister could have put up more of a fight for her to Ross, because they do benefit having, the family being there. And Sanya acknowledges that too as well, because it really does take a whole family to raise her son. So she does benefit, like being able to leave when she wants to and know that her son is being taken care for. So that was the whole scene. The mom, she's managing the differences between these two sisters, and they all acknowledge that they do plan to leave. But now Sanya, she's giving mixed messages, saying, "Oh no, you guys can stay. I'll put up a fight, maybe, kinda." And it's kind of like, okay, I get it. I just so curious how we're gonna move forward with this storyline. Like, what else we're gonna get from Sanya? But It's not doing too much, y'all. I feel like it's not enough. Now for exciting news, Kenya Moore hair spa. I was not expecting this at all. Of course, it makes sense, but I like with Kenya when she starts on something, she gets it going. She gets it in motion. Yeah, progress can be slow, but at least we see stuff happening. Like I literally see her building a legacy for Brooklyn. First her home, then her business, her hairline business, now a salon. That's amazing. I feel like that's amazing. And I was so impressed with the space that she acquired for the hair spa. I could envision it now. That's so super, super amazing and perfect use of the platform instead of peddling, petty drama. So Kenya Moore is enjoying and appreciating this new journey that she's about to embark. She sees it as an opportunity to leave a legacy for Brookie. But she does realize balance is important in her life. Now, when she focuses on her dating life, she let us know. We get an update that Mr. Roy, he's been busy. He's out of Atlanta. He's doing task or regular. But Kenya kind of sees the mistake that she made previously, which was with Mark. She wants someone who's consistent. I think, and I could not agree much more, because why deal with like out like yeah, you can travel and see each other, but you need someone to actually be there, show up in person. That's what I want for Kenya. So I'm rooting for our girl, and I like that she has a sense of balance, and I like that we get to see all aspects of her life. I feel like this is the perfect kind of housewife situation to have something going on for you career wise, something personal, and then you throw good shade. That's chef kiss for a housewife. So I'm so happy Kenya is doing her part and keeping us updated in the loop. Now over to Sheree. Sheree, Sheree is good for like to get an update on, but I can't see her as a permanent fixture as a housewife of Atlanta, because we get some updates, but it's not like enough to say, okay, we have a story to move on. Because we get to see Cairo when Cairo comes to visit. We see her daughter every now and then. It was nice to get an update that, oh, Cairo, he has a kid now. He's a father, and how she learned that he became a father was that 4 months into his partner's pregnancy, he comes up to Sheree and lets Sheree know that, I have a baby on the way. Sheree was kind of worried because she felt like he was not ready to be a father. But of course, Cairo, luckily, fortunately, he proved that, he's a hands-on dad, and he can take care of his baby. He changes the baby, feeds the baby, he does everything for that baby. Everything that Sheree had to do on her own, Cairo, he is there for his kid. And I could see that that was a proud mom moment. And I love getting to see that for Sheree. Okay. I enjoyed that so much. But that was pretty much the scene. Because can you imagine, like, if Sheree is not dating somebody, she has to like get her kids kind of involved in the housewife situation. I wish she was more into her business and branching out. Like maybe I want to see Sheree build another home, like a She by Sheree, Chateau Sheree Part 2. Like that would be amazing, a vacation home or something. I just feel like, Sheree has to kind of figure out what's her role on the franchise, aside from just dating Tyrone, dating Martell. I'm so happy we didn't hear about him this whole episode, so that was a change. So yeah, Sheree, I want more from you. We're rooting for you, girl. I think you should do a Chateau Sheree vacation home part 2. Let's see that. So now we're over at Drew's. Now with Drew, we have, we know what's going on now with her, but in this season, I don't like the role that she is playing. So right now, okay, we see a scene with her, and she's having family time with her kid, really investing into him, bringing up, honing in on his skill in basketball. She's, helping him get to become an NBA player, which made me reflect back to her dating LeBron James. So I thought, oh, that's an interesting, sport you want to get your kid involved into. Not music, not acting, but basketball. I said, okay, that's interesting. But we do get to see Drew kind of get into it with Ralph, and it's just a little bit of bickering. And I'm like, okay, this is like the stuff that we're seeing on camera, but we know what this really means and translate behind the scenes, because obviously they're not in the best situation. They right now, I don't know what's their progress with their divorce, how it's moving forward, but we know there's issues there and it's not being shown on camera for obvious reasons. They want to kind of have this privacy and resolve this on their own. Not everything has to be on camera. But knowing what we know now, I know that Drew is putting up a face. Like, she is getting involved in everyone else's drama, peddling information, and is not really helping the situation when she has all this going on in her home. Like, wow. Oh my God. So, Drew is discussing with Ralph about Courtney's upcoming event and how all the girls are invited, and she's going to have to, face Marlo and face Candy in the same room together. So, it's going to be a lot. And she puts herself right in the middle of all this. And I'm like, this is not going to end up well, and we already seen it not ending up well. Like, Drew's not helping the situation. I don't know why she pushes herself into be in the mix of this. Aside, oh, she wants to be a part of the storyline. She wants to keep her spot. But I feel like no. I feel like if we get tired of this drama, which we are, we're not gonna want to see you either. So that's not an ideal situation to put yourself in. So then, with exciting, oh my God, after this, the next thing we got Kenya, and she's talking to the architect, Jordash, and she is looking at renderings for her space, and it's beautiful. I'm rooting for her. It's so exciting to see this. I am so enthralled into seeing her dreams come to real life. It's very inspirational. It makes me want to work hard to myself to, have something for my own little self. So we saw the renderings, and to have this all built in, all set up, is between $300,000 to $400,000. I'm like, honey, she's gonna have to work. Mama has to work. Look at all this. Wow, that is amazing. So I was so happy to see that for Kenya. And we move on and we get to see the other ladies. We see Sheree, and she's having dinner with her friend, and they're talking about her sex life. I'm like, Sheree, this is such a missed opportunity. This is such a great opportunity for She by Sheree. Let's stop focusing on the men and focus on the business. And then we get a highlight from Marlo and her nephews. And I feel like Marlo's nephews are her saving grace, because you kind of see the human in Marlo when she's not being upset and going after these ladies, or these ladies going after her and her responding. So I feel like that was her saving grace, because the boys are so sweet, and you can see that they are benefiting from therapy. They're journaling, they're sharing what they write in each other's journals, and I think it's beautiful. I like to see that, especially with Black men. I like that they're having a safe space to communicate their emotions, and it being a thing that's okay. So that's pretty nice. But it's so sad that it's overshadowed by all this other drama that surrounds Marlo and the group. So we then get a scene with Candy and Todd. They're at home, and Todd is working on this script. I feel like, what I like with them is that, if they're doing a scene, they're going to make sure to plug in their businesses of what they have going on or what's upcoming. So that's really nice. But, they do bring up and talk about the Courtney event that's coming up. Candy is hesitant to go, as of course, because that her and Courtney had a little bit of an issue, a little bit of situation. But, Candy's going to go because Maneta's going to be there, Kenya's going to be there, the whole gang is going to be there, so she'll show up. So she doesn't know much about what's the plans. So she goes and calls Kenya to get an idea what's the plan, how to dress, what are they doing. And I feel like Kenya's not the ideal person to ask about those things, because Kenya, when it comes to planning, she's not the one to, really shade people about, oh, they didn't plan appropriately what to wear, what to do. No, 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 no. I don't think so. So they're doing this event. It sounds like a paint situation being thrown in the clothes, but it wasn't that. At the end, when we saw it, it's more like an escape room and you play, and at the end, they have an equipment where you know, are properly covered, and then you get paint on yourself. So I feel like, you know, that was not necessary for Candy to even try to shade Courtney. I think it was gonna be a fun event if they gave it an opportunity to. But anywho, they Kenya did bring up what Drew had mentioned, what she had said, and about the whole situation about Candy not sending flowers over to Marlo for the death of the nephew. And you know, Candy is so shocked. You know, Candy is so shocked because she, first of all, doesn't feel that, you know, the situation is fair. She feels like Marlo is amping up the situation at Candy's restaurant to a bigger thing than what it is. But I do feel like that she really does need to talk to Marlo, because when she even spoke about Candy's uh restaurant situation, it was more than just that. So I guess she really does need to talk to Marlo to see where she's coming from, and not getting it from third party third party sources, which is Candy and Drew. Drew is not, Drew exaggerates, you can already tell. And Kenya sometimes add a little sauce to things. So I just want Marlo to just really get to the source. Okay. So we're at Courtney's event, y'all. And Drew and Courtney, they're super optimistic. They're looking forward to this whole event. And you can tell they're new. Like, they are so new, so fresh, so green to this. It's not going to be a great event. You know, these girls have, especially Drew, you know, Marlo has an issue with Candy. You know, it's not going to be okay. So Marlo, she comes in and she says hi to Courtney, and she also says hi to Drew, in which Drew gives her a lukewarm response. I'm like, ooh. And then, you know, Drew, she clarifies, you know, this is the first time she's seeing Marlo after, you know, Marlo yelled at her, which is understandable for her to kind of have a lukewarm response, because they haven't really talked things out. But then all the other people have shown up. Manetta, she's here, and you know, Manetta, she's actually very positive with Marlo. They say hi to each other, and it's good. I see the truce is still working, and so the whole gang gets here, and then when Candy gets there, woo! Candy could not fake the funk for nothing, and she calls out Marlo and asks about. She says, Marlo, what have you been saying about your cousin? And it's not about her cousin, it's her nephew. So obviously she needs clarity, because she's not knowing who we're addressing. So I'm happy. Marlo says, you know, Candy, Drew, let's go to the side and talk, because she doesn't want the peanut gallery to insert and take part of this conversation where A, B, and C needs to discuss about some things. So they step aside, and you know, Marlo, she's trying to explain, and she explains why she's upset. And you know, how I'm understanding is that she's upset that these ladies are super direct with her, but when it comes to bringing up situations that's not cool for Candy, everyone wants to kind of tiptoe around it and not give it the same weight as they do Marlo. So when Marlo was expressing the situation about Candy not sending flowers to her for her nephew, Candy felt like, you know, this is not a situation to really discuss about. She acknowledges that, yes, her nephew did work at Old Lady Gang at her restaurant, but the death and everything had nothing to involve with her restaurant. So she didn't want the two to be, you know, co-mingling with each other. She didn't want that to be the message that's to be co-signed by the group, okay? So she does feel like Marlo is adding more to what it is. And also, she says that, you know, Marlo didn't even take the situation as hurtful as she's claiming it to be now, because she did send her this text message saying that her nephew died. But then just a few days later, she's asking Candy to sign up on Cameo through her link. So how is she supposed to know how hurt Marlo is? Which I can understand and see Candy's point, But I feel like it was moving along, but Candy was so agitated and upset. And Drew, she added her 2 cents into it. And I'm like, Drew, do not get involved. You're not helping. So of course Candy is getting agitated. And I didn't see Marlo get aggressive. I didn't like how Drew was trying to throw out the word aggressive when that wasn't the situation. If anything, Candy, she was getting super amped, and you can tell, obviously, she was amped. She was very emotional, leading Kenya and Sanya, the whole crew, to come over to separate the two. And it became a whole ordeal where you see the divide with the ladies. Manyera, Drew, and Kenya was taking up for Candy and pretty much ready to leave the event on the behalf of Candy. And you can see Sanya kind of upset with the situation because she doesn't like when the word aggressive is being thrown around, and Kenya is also co-signing that because she reflects to what they said about her husband. So she kind of defends for Marlo, which I did appreciate, and I think it was necessary because I don't like this whole gang up mentality where these ladies is like the ladies versus Marlo. I don't want that. I kind of want that to be dropped. I do feel like Marlo is not really a fit into this group. She does get along with Sanya. She does get along with Sheree, but it seems like she's on the outs with the other ladies. And it's just so sad because I don't think there's a way to move forward past this because these two are fighting over this, but it's so interesting that production used Candy's words against her. And what they used at the end was that, oh, everyone likes to bring up Marlo's past, but she's a kind-hearted person. But then in the situation where Candy is mad at Marlo, she's quick to bring up Marlo's past, but she's upset that Marlo is bringing up something in which she feels like she didn't give much weight to. So it's such a weird situation, and obviously it's gonna be hard for these ladies to walk it back to become friends again. I don't know how they can recover from this, but it's gonna be quite difficult. And we see a sneak peek for next episode and the season in general. And I just hope for the ladies much better than what they've been putting out right now. I just want to move past this. Let's get on to something else. Let's move on. Next. What do you guys think about this episode? I would rate it a 7.49 because yeah, there was a lot going on. We see Candy get heated. We see, their group get into a divide. But over what? I can understand Marlo is grieving and she's going through a grieving process, but grief as a storyline, grief as the topic of what we're gonna like, what Andy's gonna have to sit and talk about at the end of this season. Come on, come on. So, guys, as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate every one of you. And as always, share as much kindness as possible. Take care and be safe. Bye.